Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining us audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to focus on this. I don't know. I'm seeing it increasingly. Perhaps it's been around for a bit longer, and I haven't really noticed it. But it's what I call assertion-based assertion-based reality, rather than factual reality or evidence-based reality. So this is part of the ideological spectrum that we see today that's being used, by the globalists to undermine the West, undermine the rule of law, undermine Western history and culture, and so on. And they're using it to considerable effect. And I'm surprised actually how effective it is. Now, let's have a look at sort of someone like Larry Fink at BlackRock, where he might, he does. He opens, he's out there at some forum or some sort of meet the press or whatever it is, and he's out there, and he'll begin with, "We all know that we have to change. We have to change. We all know that we have to change." And then he goes on. So that this already means that he doesn't have to justify, explain, or support with facts what he's about to propose or is proposing or has proposed. It's, we all know. We all know that we have to do such and such. And do we? Well, wait, stop. Do we know? How do we know? On what basis do you say we all know? Do you know that everybody knows? So it's a pretty piss-weak argument, but it's one that has that's used so widely that we have to really look at it in isolation and deal with it. Say, well, let's just have a look at this. Now, I've noticed this in kids that record what teachers are saying in classrooms, and this is going from, say, kids that are sort of 8, 9 years old, or even earlier, kids going right through to, say, senior high school, college, and so on, where the teacher or the lecturer, probably more the teachers, but the lecturers too, will open up and, "We all know that climate change is going to destroy the world. We all know it. We know that the world will be destroyed soon. We all know that we must do something. We all know that you must go out in the street and protest." So these sort of assertions now, to present it that way means you bypass the justification. The reverse, or not the reverse, but another way of doing it would be, I believe that you kids should go out and protest about climate change because there's a lot of climate change experts that say that the CO2 emissions are going to have an impact, and it could, their projections, their model projections, which are just projections, say that the world's temperature could increase by so and so over the next 100 years. And they then say, based on their models, that the effect of this would be as follows. But there are others that say, there are other scientists and climatologists and so on that argue that that's not the case. And so I just want to make sure you kids understand both sides of the argument. But I personally, I'm a fanatical leftist and and I want to, I want to go out and protest. You kids make up your own mind, talk to your parents about it, and so that'll be different. But instead, it's just assertion, goes straight into the assertion, and that's then established fact. There's no debate left, and no debate at all left, and no discussion. There's no two sides of the argument or two sides of the discussion. It is absolutely settled, and it's now what do we do? So teachers are doing it in class, and you also say even when Trump and one of his, I can't remember what it was, maybe the Attorney General at the time or Chief of Staff or something like that in the Trump administration after the 2020 election. Now, bear in mind, a lot of people got questions over the election. Here's a guy who's in serious cognitive decline that didn't even campaign and had no policies or anything you could actually point to, somehow managed to get the most votes ever in the history of presidential elections by a long shot. I mean, he got like 12 million plus more votes than Obama got in his first term when there was this massive college kid turnout for Obama. So Biden got more than that. I mean, you're kidding me, right? So in my view, in my opinion, the deep state manufactured and invented something in the region of 20 million votes for Biden in that election. It would be somewhere around that number, if not that exactly. Now Trump and his again, I think it might have been Trump's chief of staff were talking to the Georgia state of Georgia Secretary of State. I think his name was Brad Raffensperger or something like that. And the conversation was about the things like signature matching on ballots, the mail-in ballots, were the chain of custody laws adhered to, ballot harvesting. Was there proper signature matching, and were the proper procedures followed? Because there were, in the view of many, absolute minimum 25,000 votes that were illegitimate and shouldn't have been counted, and they were all for Biden. There was one, I think, where there was something like 12,000 votes came out of the same address, and 99.8% for Biden. Some very suspicious things, and quite reasonably, Trump and his team, or any independent person, would have said, "Hey, have you really checked those votes carefully?" Now, what the Georgia did is they just recounted the same votes that they'd already allocated, but without doing the signature matching, without doing the chain of custody, without investigating, strange anomalies like 10,000 votes. This is my understanding of the situation, at least, the 10,000 or so votes from one address. So the Trump team had some legitimate questions, and was trying to appeal to Raffensperger to work within Georgia laws, as I understand them to be, and just verify that these votes are accurate. So now Raffensperger opens up the conversation. I'm going from memory here, but Raffensperger opens up the conversation with Trump and his chief of staff, and with "I think we can all agree," and comes out with that. So this is very much a model for people that don't want to deal with the facts and deal with it. This is the model of conversation, and I've noticed this too. Say with the parents' delegation that goes to talk to the district principal of or the head of some school district about putting pornographic stuff into junior schools, and teaching it in junior schools, pornographic LGBTQ stuff and so on. The parents have legitimate concerns, legitimate questions, and the opening gambit by the government official was, "I think we can all agree, and we all know," and then so this assertion thing. Now it's a tactic and it's a technique. And given how widely used it is and how practiced it is, it's got to be trained. Someone's got to be going to say, "Well, how do I handle these parents?" Okay, how you do it is this. You start with, "We all agree, we all know," and then go straight into the position you want to take. And then that bypasses the need for having to deal with facts or evidence or so on. Now, I've noticed in very few cases, people do push back the interviewer or whoever it is, saying, "No, how do we all know that?" When you say we all know, what bullshit is that? And then the next thing is, "Oh, well, if you want to be difficult, if you want to be Hitler, if you're a Nazi," and then they'll try that. But for those who are prepared to very calmly and quite, "You've said that we all know. What is it you believe that we all know?" And then you can get them to, "Oh, I'm not going to stay I'm not going to talk to you if you're going to be hostile. Look, if you're going to be like Hitler, I'm not going to talk to you." No. You've said, this is what you've said. You've said that we all know, and just keep at them. And eventually they've either got to take it back and invite them to do that, or they've got to try and recast the position somehow. But this is now widely used, and you see it in all areas. And we all know that white people invented slavery to keep black people down because of white supremacy. We all know that white people did it. And well, that's quite apart from being grotesquely untrue. We don't all know that, so that's not right. We all know that racist cops just arrest black people for no reason. We all know that's true. Well, how do you know it's true? Well, look, just look at all the black people in prison. It must be because of Hitler. No, wait a minute. We don't all know that. No, that's not the reasoning. We all know that black people are poor because white people stole it. We know that. Well, no, we don't know that, and that's not true either. But to young kids or college kids, remember, there's a lot of low IQ college kids around now. It's not like it was, 40, 50 years ago where there was the higher IQ kids were in college. This is not the same anymore. There's a lot of, sub 100 IQ level kids in college. They easily lap this stuff up, including a lot of African Americans. And it's a very Marxist argument. That was one of the first things that the Marxist agitators do, is they go around and say, hey, the reason you're poor is because those people stole it from you. That's why. If they weren't stealing it, then you'd be rich, and we'd all have the same. And this was, in the election in Chile that elected Salvador Allende, the Marxist president. The Cuban communist agitators went around. They took the poorest people that they could find, put them in buses, and then drove them around some of the wealthiest suburbs in Santiago, the capital of Chile. And so they see these mansions with swimming pools and hot chicks swimming in it. They see all that. If you vote for the communists, you can have that. That'll be yours. You can have that. So these simple people go, holy fuck, you mean I can have that? I can have that fancy house and that swimming pool with all the hot chicks? Well, holy crap, I'm going to vote communist if that's what I'm going to get, without really understanding the issues around it. So this is very much a communist gambit, and they use it on the low IQ, not just black kids but white kids as well. And so black people are murdered by white people in vast numbers for no reason. We know that happened. And so this assertion thing means they can get past the facts. So if they say, well, for every black person that's killed by a white person, there's over 100 people murdered by other black people. Only like it's 100 black people murdered by other blacks. So, okay, wow, gee, well, the problem isn't white people then, it's other black people. So that would be the fact. But instead, if they go, we know that black people are hunted by white, we know that. Look at that racist cop that killed it. We know the cop is racist. We know that it was for no reason. Well, hold on a minute, that black guy's actually got a long criminal history, and he was assaulting the police officer, and so isn't that what you'd expect to happen, that someone's getting shot there? So it allows them to bypass the facts. So the assertion-based thing is widely used now, whether it be in education, political discussion, social discussion. ESG is a key thing. We know we have to have affirmative action, race and gender quotas, because we know how fascist and Nazi and racist white people are. We know that is. So this is how it's done. But people increasingly, I think, are accepting that. Oh, we know. Oh, that's right. Yeah. White people are all Nazis. Yeah. And they're not even asking the questions. Going, hey, stop this. And it's very much part of a choreographed method of speaking and talking. And again, it's designed to quickly bypass and quickly get around the real facts, because they're telling a whole bunch of fucking lies, and they have to use this assertion-based method to try and conceal that. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.